this is your Daily 5 for Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. I know I've mentioned before that I am a frequent participant in the Stacey's book club that the TWiT network, well, I shouldn't say TWiT network, that the TWiT network does as part of their TWiT offering. And I think I've mentioned this before too, those episodes do go public, so you will be able to watch them just, I think it's a month after they're done live. And generally, the books that have been part of that book club have been very good. I've actually enjoyed many of them to different degrees, but I've generally had a good time with all of them. The pick for this month, or I shouldn't say this month, the pick for this last one, which was last Friday, so last week, was A Psalm for the Wild Built by author Becky Chambers. This is described as a solar punk novella, and it is a pretty short book. I blew through it fairly quickly. I had seen that it was shorter, so I waited till closer to the actual episode to read it. But I went through it pretty quickly. I was done about a week before the actual episode was recorded. And as I said, I've enjoyed to various degrees other books in the Stacey's Book Club series, but I think this might be my favorite one, purely as a book to read and enjoy. This was, beginning to end, one of the most delightful things I've read in quite a while, where I started off and it was I would describe it as almost a cozy, joyful book, and it ended up that way. And also, some of the things that were covered in this book would likely drive a certain segment of the audience insane, because it touches on a number of what unfortunately have become controversial topics, like climate change, like using pronouns that are non-singular, like the idea that you should live in a harmony with nature and technology and different things, that there should be balance in life, and that there should be respect for different life that comes in various forms. And that's just going to drive some people right out the window. So if you're one of those people, don't read this. But I had a blast with it. It is a very simple story set within a very interesting, large, and complex world, or at least a world that we get the beginnings of. Now, I understand there's a sequel to this book, which I will be reading, because I am curious if the sequel gets into some of the larger things that are mentioned and touched upon in this one. But it concerns a young individual. This is a very basic idea, but done in an interesting way, who is sick of living in the same place that they've always lived, and they want to see what is beyond what they know. And they start on a journey that leads to unexpected places and unexpected relationships. That is the most spoiler-free and what sounds like the most generic thing I could possibly say. But it's all of the flavoring and the wrapping and the world that is created that you start to experience that makes that story work so well. Not to mention the main character is very relatable, also very likable. The other character that you spend most of the story with is equally interesting and unique and different, and reacts in ways, and I'm trying not to spoil anything here, but reacts in ways that may go against what your expectation of such a character would be initially. And all of that works together. Plus, it's a breeze to read. It's just a very lightly written, and I don't mean that as a criticism. I'm not saying there isn't something to say. There's lots being said, actually, in this story, but it's done in this very jaunty, light way where it feels like a calming breeze to read. I don't know how else to put it. I'm trying to figure out. It was such a strange and I say that in the best way, a wonderful atmosphere to reading this book, where it just felt like floating along on a stream to read it. And I really just had a blast with it, especially right now when there's just a lot of miserable things happening. To read something like this that is light and optimistic and positive and just feels like a break from some of the heavier things going on, I really couldn't recommend it highly enough. I bought it on, I think it's bookshop.com or .org, where you can buy DRM-free books. So I just bought the digital version of it, and because I basically, at this point, I have completely nuked the Wi-Fi on my Kindle, so it is just completely going to be manually run. I'm never going to connect to Amazon again with that thing. But it still works very well as an e-reader, so I was able to just throw this book on there. Perfectly fine, no problems. So again, the book is A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, and if you're looking for something light and happy and fun to read, I could not possibly recommend this book more. Later.